Hey man, how you going?
Hey Keith, pretty good man.
Good to hear. I've got Kevin Dixon here.
Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to be here.
Welcome to the second episode of Two Drinks Minimum. We're very happy to have you here, and today the topic is, Kevin?
Oh, well, I think we're talking about what we owe the past today.
The past in regards to art from the 20th century onwards, and the how it's influenced both of us, and as a civilization itself. Western civilization, anyway.
Oh shit, we're speaking for civilization today.
Yeah, it's interesting that.
Big
We're
shoes.
pushing ourselves into those big shoes. Yeah, I think we're getting Neil Armstrong in here to talk about shoes.
Oh, damn, I think I might need a few drinks for that.
That's perfectly fine. We're 2 drinks down, as is the minimum. So just give us some background on what your education is in regards to art, or whether you just have a professional or a personal.
Let's see. All right. Well, where do I start?
yeah. Whether it be whatever type of art you prefer, or.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess where I consider my education to really have started was probably in university. It was when I took an interest, I guess. I did, a very, very valuable arts degree, which I guess has done the job of what I wanted to do. Like I can actually... it's allowed me to teach, which is pretty broad, so it was sort of like a broad system of learning, which was cool. But before that, I never really took much interest in a formal education. It's mostly just independent reading and things like that, I guess I always say that my education was me avoiding education and learning what I wanted to learn instead,
Well, that's apparently the best form.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know if it's the best form, but it's I've enjoyed it.
I can imagine anyone who has learned that way probably does enjoy it more than anyone else.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I guess things just have to feel organic, sometimes.
I do know that you are kind of a man of the world. You grew up in several different countries, so you've had a bit of experience.
Well,
in
this
that
is why
regard.
I didn't like my education, was because when I grew up in Johannesburg in South Africa, and teaching sort of just meant they're imparting information. Beyond that, it wasn't about behavior. Like they didn't. They used discipline to get your attention, basically. So even if you're just not paying attention to them, they'll just take you up to the front of the class and they'll snap a ruler on you.
Yeah, for many Australians like me, that was literally what our parents taught us was like for them for school.
No,
so it's kind of
it's weird when your teacher does it.
It's surreal as shit to hear it from another one of your peers. So anyway, in that regards, where do you want to really start on this conversation? Do you want to go chronologically from the 1900s and go on?
Oh, no, I think that would actually make me a little bit nauseous, actually. I don't know. Also, because I don't think I have that much information, in terms of, a year-by-year kind of play. I guess for me, it's just about the things that really have influenced me subjectively, I guess.
Well, art is subjective, so that's probably the best place to start, yeah.
There's probably a lot of things that I don't even, take the value of because I haven't maybe viewed them in the right order or something like that. I mean, we've had conversations about metal sometimes that, because some of it is a bit hard to get into just because maybe the fascination with a particular band is the different time signatures they use, which is amazing if that's what you're looking at. But if you're just sort of looking for something to relax to, which I actually do find metal quite relaxing to listen to, and if you I've sort of had conversations recently about trying to get into bands like Meshuggah, and I really get what they're doing, but I can't sit there and listen to it and relax to it and find what I'm looking for in music, So it's just everything's subjective, and we're always gonna be bound by that. So why not lean into it and talk about the influences that we have, maybe?
Yeah, no, by all means. So look, I totally agree with you in that regards to heavy metal. A lot of people I find have talked about heavy metal being a catharsis. It's a break from their anger.
Oh, absolutely. I
in
totally
celebrating their anger. So
100%.
when they've done their head banging or their, just the slamming of their hands on the dashboard of the car in the middle of driving traffic, they can go to their normal work day and they don't have any more pent up anger.
No,
frustration.
absolutely. Sometimes, especially when you got like a long drive, and like you can just listen to, you can get into the flow of an album and just the energy of it like really works out a lot of things for you. I'm not saying it's anger, but it's like there's definitely a lot of energy.
It's more frustration, really, isn't it? It's,
no,
you don't know how to express your frustration.
Well, it shows a chaotic sort of it's a chaotic sort of music style, which is great, but it also gives you a real sense of which the world is a complicated place, So it's like, so I think that sometimes metal is the perfect thing for you.
I'm surprised that we don't have any more metal in the top charts for 2020, because considering how frustrating it how frustrating it has been for almost all of us.
Oh well, I mean, it might be something different for everybody,
Yeah, no, that's true. I can imagine the billionaires of the planet have been patting themselves on the back.
Just very relaxing.
No, agreed. So let's jump off, and I'll ask you the most personal question that anyone could be asked. What is the most influential? Well, we'll just start with music. What is the most influential music you found yourself in the early teen years, which is what people consider the establishment years in regards to what your tastes are and what you find yourself as a human being enjoying.
Oh, okay. No, I guess I don't know if I really feel there was a establishment years for me. I think I've actually been on sort of a musical journey since the beginning. Like,
well, what started you over that hump of being really into music?
Honestly, I really used to listen to a lot of classic rock kind of bands. Things that really hit me first were things like In Excess and The Living End, and then it sort of progressed towards more of a grunge sort of sound. But I used to actually have a much sort of more broad relationship with music, in that I just wasn't like I used to listen to a lot of like sad music, I think, when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, I have heard that is a small genre of people very much, I guess you could say, revere bands similar to, Silverchair or, in a way, sometimes the Beatles, but more so, Muse and all those sort of bands that have sort of a not quite
Muse
quite depressing sort of sound to them. Or I guess you'd say they are more melancholy. Perfect example is Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, I was about to say actually right there is Smashing Pumpkins. These are the kind of bands that because I would sort of call them a little bit sad actually, because like when you think about it, like a lot of their songs are a little bit forlorn and melancholic.
But they are
like Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness is literally their
But are the songs about sadness? That's the other question.
No, I think they just sort of assume that the world is a sad place. That's where they're coming from. It's not that they're singing about sad things. It's a recognition. It's a recognition of
their feelings
that the world is chaotic and things. I mean, even when you look at why do people like Kurt Cobain so much, like. Yeah. And because the fact is, listening. I mean, I don't know if it's a fact. Obviously, we're talking about opinions here, but I've been listening to a lot of Alice in Chains for a while, and I've had a revisitation of them lately. I've been listening to them a lot, and especially now that they're highlighted.
You were a fan when you were a kid?
No, I was absolutely, but I probably didn't listen to their whole catalog when I was a kid. Obviously, Dirt was a huge record, and that's sort of the exposure I had. But I've done a bit more of a deep dive lately. I mean, there were a lot of their big songs on that album.
So what made you pick up a guitar to begin with?
My dad.
He's quite the talent, I hear.
He's an interesting cat, yeah.
He's an entertainer, all-round entertainer, from what I understand.
Oh, look, I wouldn't even know where to start on that.
He's a magician. He's a musician. He's
Yeah, no, he's really into like these days. He's really into like magic and things like that. He just likes to entertain, you know.
I guess you just call him a microphone man. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, no, like he doesn't need a microphone. Actually.
He's a bit of a loud gentleman. Isn't
Most of the time, he can just he just has a different persona, you know. Like most of the time, he's quite quiet. Actually, like when he's doing his work, he's quite serious. He's a businessman. And then all of a sudden he'll turn into this entertainer guy, this wedding singer from nowhere, from absolutely nowhere.
Fair enough.
So I think.
Did he teach you?
This is probably why I listen to sad music.
Yeah, we're on a journey of self-discovery here, mate. We're talking about art.
No. I'm just saying, like when I was younger, like I used to, like he did teach me some music, and some of it was really good. But
on guitar or?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, just I actually learned piano as my first instrument. Actually,
yeah, most classical guitarists learn piano first because the scales obviously they're easier to grasp.
No, I mean, I think end of the day, what I really like to do is to sort of write songs more than anything else. Like I like to just come up with things. My favorite time playing music is just playing nothing. You know, just playing just whatever chords come to mind that go well, finding nice rhythm, and then just putting some words on top of it and having fun. You know, like that's my main thing. Honestly, I'm not that serious.
Well, that's art in its perfect and purest form. It's just a form of expression.
No, a lot of the time, and like
that language and words don't meet.
Well, this is why I say like it's just interesting. Like what people actually listen to is a lot of the time it is about the person. Like as I was saying with Alice in Chains, is they're actually, I would say, and a lot of my friends would say that they're a better band than Nirvana as a band. As a total sound.
Well, they have more of a discography, from what I understand.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. But like yeah, because their catalog of songs is huge. Their albums are long, but like.
I was never a fan. I'm sorry to say. They never really scratched an itch that I needed. Maybe I grew out of that phase that they perfectly hit before I ever really got into them.
Oh, I would say that stuff. I don't know if there'd be a phase kind of band. I don't know if I'd agree with it, but I mean, I could. Fair enough.
And then it may be that sort of genre of music for me. I mean, I'm 35, so that sort of genre of music
grunge
for
sort
me,
of genre.
Yeah, in a way, is like it's kind of a tired teenager sort of genre.
Yeah, but I also feel like all music is immature in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, no.
Like what style is not immature? I mean, like jazz maybe, and
and metal doesn't even take itself seriously.
Yeah, I guess. But I find metal people who are a little bit too far in are a little serious about it.
Agreed.
I sort of feel like I don't want to be that serious about like music, because I think my favorite bands classically. Really, like, because when I was
please don't say U2. I'll shoot you.
No. The bands that I really gravitate towards are ones that have a bit of a sense of humor about themselves. You know.
Well, Weezer, perfect example.
Weezer is I don't know. They're like they're prophets for me. You know, like because I mean they're nerdy, yes. But they also like sort of make light of that all the time. You know, like. Their songs just have a casual sort of sense of humor to them. They just seem like they're having fun with music, you know, and that's really what I like, you know, like just bands that are having fun.
Yeah, no, agreed. I totally agree. I'm a massive fan of Psycho Stick, which is humor core, which is already metalcore, which is already
ordinary things, right? Like
metalcore is already like a parody of itself, and the people who take itself too seriously are kind of creepy. But metalcore plus humor has just turned it into something entirely different. And yeah, they essentially write songs about like how horrible it is to live with people who are your same age as you. So they steal your food, and you're looking forward to leftovers at the end of your shift, and they've eaten your food, and no one does any cleaning in the house. So there's all this passive aggressiveness, and it's all in metal songs.
The real shit.
They're the real shit. And now, just recently, now that they've hit their 30s, and some of them are balding, they're starting doing songs about like how they hate their neighbors, and the dentist sucks, and
sometimes
their eyesight is going.
Authentic shit, you know.
Yeah,
that's the stuff.
It's fun and it's real, but at the same time, you know, they've really come into their own, and for the most part, they were just stupid Yeah, and what's interesting about that sort of thing is that if you make stupid music, I find, I mean, perfect example is that whatever the hell that I'm not even going to say the artist's name, but that WAP song
Oh,
is a perfect
right.
example.
Yeah. So this is
if
Cardi
you make
B,
something
Cardi B.
controversial and stupid, then people don't know what to make of
I
it.
had a request for that song at a gig recently. Yeah, and I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Well,
They
obviously
asked
it
if I'd
was in
play
jest, but I swear a guitar cover of that song would make people wake the hell up to what it actually means, you know?
Oh, yeah, no, but the thing is...
They would be like,
I
what?
don't know.
Get this trash.
Well, this is why you have to have a sense of humor, you know? It's just like, no matter, you know, like
It's
I
just
think
art,
any band shouldn't take themselves so seriously. But, I mean, not to say that I dislike all the ones I do. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, no. The people who do... The bands that do take themselves seriously genuinely the ones that have... Well, I wouldn't say always, but most of the time they have the most amount of talent.
Yeah. No, I mean, look at Prince, for example. Prince was, like, very serious, like, sort of cat about...
But
like,
no one's
music
taken
and
Prince
stuff.
seriously since Dave Chappelle did that skit about him.
Yeah, no, that was funny. No, I take Prince seriously, man. I mean, it took, you know, unfortunately, but like, because I remember seeing this one huge sort of concert with all these top blues musicians, you know, like classic. Clapton was on the stage, B.B. King was on the stage, and there was, I don't know, I think who else was there? But it was an A-list lineup basically of blues musicians.
Were they doing Prince covers?
No. They weren't doing. They were just doing just a bit of a jam. You know, this big
with
jam
Prince.
session. And each guitarist would take a few verses and just give you a solo. And B.B. King was leading the thing. You know.
Yeah.
He was because I mean, yeah, everyone was just improvising on his song, but it was sort of, you could tell there was improv in his vocals as well. You could just tell. He's just the kind of guy who could do that. B.B. King, he was so comfortable. I saw him change a string in the song. He didn't stop the song. He kept the song going.
What?
Yeah, no, and like the thing
He
is,
restrung a string.
he restrung a string
while he was playing.
While he was playing, and like he would like he'd break off and he'd play little bits of the song while he was changing the string and singing just like casually.
Oh my god!
It's mental.
No, I love
That's
a
why
lot
I
of
love
BB
BB
King.
King.
I
He
love
has
a lot of
fun on
BB
stage,
King songs. Like
he's got sadness, he's got fun. It's great.
if you've never heard BB King, you are doing yourself an absolute disservice. It's like never hearing Michael Jackson. You do know not what music is. Go back and listen to some BB King. If you don't like blues,
Jackson's a champ,
he will
but
make you
BB
like
King
blues.
is necessary for the song. You know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, so anyway, he was
Anyway,
restringing
Prince
the guitar.
was the guy
Prince.
who blew me away. Like,
Really?
He was the last guy to play, and in this lineup of these, like, you know, fucking Olympus champions of blues guitar, and Prince was the last guy, and yeah, it was just something else when he played. Like you could just sort of feel like how much sharper his spirit was than the other guys. You know, like I mean, I understand Clapton had been through lots in life, but like
not in the zone. I guess was what.
Yeah, no, you could sort of. Like, I think that's what it is. Like you know, when the sort of really serious people can maybe get in that zone a little bit more, and they sort of come off a bit crazy sometimes. Maybe. Like,
do you think Kanye West is like that a little bit?
No, a little
bit.
Go
random tangent here, but like
no, he's that sort of Graduation album was amazing. Like
I can't take him seriously as a person, but I would respect his
think that
art
was his
if I
big one,
liked
wasn't it?
any of it. But
no,
I haven't
look,
given him the
I've
time
listened
today.
to. See, this is the good thing when I don't really care too much about what the people are, who they are. Like, if you're listening to their music, listen to their music. You know?
Yeah. You listen to the what's the phrase? How it goes? Respect the talent, not the man.
Exactly. No, I mean some bands I don't get their philosophy and stuff like that, but I can respect their talent. And then some people, some bands are just a bit more emotional about, I think.
Yeah, no, agreed. So do you want to switch gears here and move into
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, obviously we can talk
forms of
all
art
day
that
about,
really
like,
influenced you.
influential musicians and things like that. There's just no limit on that. I mean,
yeah, we'll be here for a while. So let's just switch into movies.
Like
what
just as we were talking about, like, so sure. So movies.
Yeah. What's the most influential movie you saw in those sort of? You didn't have those 10 years, as you said, that really influenced what your tastes were. But
oh no, I would.
You definitely love certain movies.
No, see, movies. I was more into movies when I was younger, actually, to be honest. Like than a lot of things. And here's a situation where I really went back into the past a lot with some of the films that I watched.
So did you get nostalgic and go back into those movies back in the day?
I don't know. I just think I found some of the older films had a lot more in them.
Do you have examples that I can pick?
Sure, for example, like post-war movies were always a little bit more loaded than other time periods, because you've got all of these attitudes that are mixed in and how people feel in general. You know, like when a war ends, like a world war especially, you know, like the world is in a certain condition. And people feel like in a like for example, like detective films.
Noir.
Yeah, film noir was an interesting one for me.
So did you learn more about film noir back when you did your degree than you did before?
It's hard to say. I mean, like I learned a lot of the names of things. You know, like
Bogart and all those sort of things.
No, I mean I don't mean like actors. I mean I appreciated the films themselves and the way it was acted and the people in them. But I guess, you know, like when I had to write essays on this kind of thing, you know, because I took units where I had to talk about film, sure, and some of them were in that time period.
Could you give me an example of what the best noir film you've ever seen?
Well, I mean,
it
has to be Bogart, because Bogart was the best.
Yeah.
If it's the best that we're talking about, I would say I really enjoyed The Big Sleep.
Yeah, I have heard that that's rather brilliant.
Oh, that yeah, no.
But I haven't watched it recently, so it's hard to tell, you know.
Well, it's got all the angles in it, but you don't see them coming. You know, like it's got the femme fatales and stuff like that, but you really don't see it coming. It's got like all the sort of the tropes of the noir
noir detective so you
genre.
have a self-depressed main character, but at the same time he's like self-destructive.
Yeah, typically
he's
they've got
super
a bit of,
exponentially
soldier history and something like that.
He's exponentially perceptive, but he's suave and he's swashbuckling, but at the same time he's not charming. He's not trying to be anyway. You know?
Well, I mean, I think it's not the main sort of the vibe. There's a sense of just getting to the bottom of things in those kind of stories. But it's sort of interesting because I actually got into that because I used to read noir, like sort of detective fiction, because they actually say that there is no such thing as noir.
Oh, really?
There's an argument that noir is actually not a genre.
Well, apparently the first 150 detective comics, I think it was around 79, that they introduced Batman, and Batman was a noir hero.
Oh, absolutely.
Based in detective comics.
Well, it uses a lot of the same. I mean, the comics use a lot of those features, especially because, like, one of the biggest things about detective films or noir is the use of lighting.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, because the lighting, like, it was actually just invented, and this is why they're not sure if it was actually a genre or just a coincidental collection of techniques that were being developed at the same time, right? Because the chiaroscuro lighting that they use in those films, where they have like those intense bright lights, but otherwise everything is in shadows.
Yeah. No, well, you have to keep in mind that they had been working on at production for 30 years, just only 30 years. So one generation of audio in film. So they didn't really know what to do with that technology, and they were still establishing the basics of how to work with sound.
Yeah, true.
And I mean, it's still at this point everything's still mono sound.
Yeah.
They had several microphones, but it still came all through the same channel. So,
well, I think there's something romantic about that as well, though. You know, like
agreed.
Sort of monotonal.
I mean, apparently
sound.
The new Tenet movie that just came out apparently is so bad in terms of audio engineering because there's too many channels that people can't hear people speaking, but yet they can hear a grenade pin drop somewhere at the end of the scene. So, but the lighting, as for the lighting in noir, I think it was a technique that someone invented. I'm not too sure.
It was a German technique.
Really? Okay, I'm not surprised by that.
It was a form of German expressionism.
Yeah,
so
I actually remember that there's a certain movie which is about a murderer. I can't remember what it's called. The German word for murderer is essentially this movie title. I can't remember right now off the top of my head, but nonetheless, they used exceptional amounts of shadow to foreshadow and build character on characters you'd never seen before.
Yeah, true.
And so you can know exactly what a character was like just by highlighting their eyes without even introducing who they were or what their name was.
Well, this is what was popular then, right? They were using lighting as a form of characterization, and to give like the whole film a tone, to give characters a tone. Like if someone's standing in the shadow, or someone's standing in the light, or something like that. You know, they'd really use that for characterization. And I mean, that was
the show don't tell. That was the difference right there. It was because they didn't know yet that they could tell what a character was like or how they acted. So they wanted to introduce a character without using audio to show what they were like before they were ever even really built upon.
Yeah.
And I just realized that was an exceptional filmmaking technique because it essentially established a picture means 1,000 words. That's probably where the phrase comes from when you think about it. You know?
Yeah, and I sometimes I do think about like where these phrases come from, and honestly, a lot of the time it's ridiculous.
Yeah, because it only hits you maybe 20 years after you've heard it.
Yeah, like, I read somewhere that like the phrase "piece of cake," like, you know, it's a piece of cake to mean easy. Like, why? Like, some things make sense, you know. It's just like someone says, "Oh, it's raining cats and dogs." You're like, "All right, well, cats and dogs are violent. They fight. Maybe it's raining heavily." Okay, I kind of understand. But like when you're talking about like, you know, piece of cake means easy. Why the fuck is that? You know, a piece of cake. But like I actually looked this up once, and it said something like they used to have contests of eating, like in Middle America, like, you know, way back when they eat pies and cakes, and the cakes were easy. You know, it's easier to eat a lot of cake than it is to eat a lot of pie.
Yeah,
you know?
But to make a pie, it's easy as pie because you don't have to separate the levels of the cake and all that stuff.
There's often a reasonable origin, but sometimes they don't make sense unless you look them up. And
absolutely.
But we're so numb to using these things, and it's kind of interesting, like when we talk about films and stuff like that, that maybe it's not about like they made this genre. Because, I mean, like, when I play music, I don't even think about genre. In fact, I don't like to sort of put music into categories, to be honest. Like, I like music that hits me. But the same with sort of anything. Like, I don't think a lot of the time people are trying to make this genre. You know, like, I mean, sometimes it is. Like, you know, if you're trying to do jazz, it has to be a certain way. But, like they're arguing, like, you know, about these noir films, that it wasn't like, ooh, noir is a style. You know, it's just like noir means black in French, and that means this kind of film. It might just be films that are like the techniques that were popular at the time. You know, like the lighting technique became popular. There was a general feeling of post-war anxiety and things like that, and people were just living in that condition, and that's the kind of film
do you recognize have you ever seen any of the really horrible monster movies that came out in the 1950s that encapsulated on the 1950s fear of the communists, the Russian infiltration? Have you ever seen any of those? The ones with the giant rubber suits?
I've definitely seen a lot of movies that hide a bit of political fear, sure.
No, but like apparently the entire 1950s horror genre was built with the men walking around in rubber suits and trying to fucking walk their way through gas station bathrooms, trying to get to the female fatale. That was all based entirely on they were trying to encapsulate
just a giant Rasputin monster or something.
Exactly. You should see some. If you haven't seen any of them, you should watch Plan from Plan 9 from Outer Space.
No, that movie, come on, no.
One of the worst movies ever made.
That is the worst movie ever made. I mean, like, you got The Room, I guess, but that movie was pretty...
yeah, no, that guy intentionally made...
I kind of get Tommy Wiseau because, like, I just kind of understand him.
I think he made something horrible. It became so famous that he couldn't escape it. So he just jumped on the bandwagon. He embraced it.
Like, I get his personality, but what's the dude's name? Edward D. Wood.
Edward.
Yeah.
Now, have you seen that movie, the black and white movie?
Oh yeah, I have.
I've
seen quite a few of those. Yeah. Did you pause? Are you gonna?
What was that? Part 2. So anyway, we're talking about Ed Wood.
Yeah, that guy was certainly a character.
Yeah, certainly a character. There is a brilliant video. If you don't want to watch the movie, which actually happens, Johnny Depp in it.
Oh yeah, the Johnny Depp adaptation.
There is an exceptionally
that was a good movie.
There's an exceptionally great fucking movie review of Ed Wood on Red Letter Media on YouTube, where in 30 minutes they'll totally fill in all the movie parts. It turns out that to them, that Ed Wood movie is essentially the meme movie of all directors. In that if you're directing something, someone will at some point reference Ed Wood, and then that will become the inside joke of what you're trying to do. Because it's just, when someone doesn't perfect something, Ed Wood had a meme for it. And it's like, he did one take. Do you need another one? No, it's fine. We'll move on.
Print it.
It's done.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think as I kind of, said a little bit earlier with even music sometimes. I mean, sometimes we do take things a little bit too seriously. I mean, obviously Ed Wood doesn't take his movies quite seriously enough. But I mean, I think there was a bit of a spirit maybe in some of the movies in maybe the 70s, 80s, 90s period where movies were just more relaxed, like because it was more accessible to most people. Like in obviously like 50s, 60s, like it was a big deal, to make a movie.
Oh yeah, no.
But like when they had like
2001 Space Odyssey, we had fucking Star Wars in the 70s. But then again,
but a lot more became possible,
Conversely, we had
Bill Murray movies, for example, which is just more 70s. Relaxed. Hey?
I don't remember.
The 80s.
Oh yeah, like actually, I think Caddyshack is 1976.
Was it 76?
I might be wrong about that.
But I mean, I have no idea. But like the thing is, like exactly what I'm saying. Look at Caddyshack compared to some of like the movies that I think the 70s really loosened things up because there was some weird shit. There was weird stuff.
Have you ever heard of the speaking of art and culture? Have you ever heard of the theory that movies, TV shows, and music, mostly music, has always been influenced by the drugs of the time? This is a theory put to my knowledge. Yeah. This is a theory put towards one of his books. I think it was Food of the Gods, where he, if you don't know who Terence McKenna is, he was a psychonaut, ethnobiologist. So he studied mushrooms.
I don't know what any of that means.
He studied mushrooms. And,
maybe I have to be on the right.
The way that plants evolved, and he wrote a book called The Food of the Gods, which is about how drugs influence culture more than anything else in history.
No,
and so like apparently there was a drug, I'm trying to remember what the name of it was, but essentially the Romans had it, and that was a natural it was both a natural aphrodisiac and a natural contraceptive. And that was the reason why they could have so many slaves and not breed an entire slave revolution.
What is this magical substance?
No, they bred it out of extinction. They literally fucked so much that it went extinct This fucking
okay.
Yeah, no, it was referenced many times.
I mean, I could see some credence to that. I mean,
So,
I say for my own life, I don't.
Just
I don't,
look
I
at
don't
the
necessarily
60s.
Take drugs according to fashion.
When the 60s hit, you had the 1940s and 1950s influence of jazz and black culture and Mexican culture with marijuana.
Yeah.
You had a massive marijuana craze there at that point, and then they had altered states and the reefer madness and the hipster movement. Well, not the hipster movement, but the hippie movement.
Yeah, I mean, what's the difference, really? It's just different clothes. Different clothes. It's the same sort of
one's
thing.
A bit. I would say that the one's a little bit more counterculture than the other is.
Well, no, the whole idea is that it's counterculture. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter who the hippies.
It's not about.
It doesn't matter who the.
The difference is whether they're willing.
It's just that they're different, right? And better,
I don't know.
And better somehow.
I guess in a way you're kind of right in that capitalism both exploited both ideas to make money.
The truth is we're all fucking dumb, and like no matter who it is, like if you're the straight edge business people, like business minded people, I guess they're a bit more validated because there was a war fought and they sort of saw the value of what they had done, whereas the hippies were just a rejection of all that and stuff like that. So it's just like I don't know if the hippies really it doesn't seem like they earned that sense of our philosophy is better, but I mean in the end of the day,
in terms of
it was all flawed.
Sexual equality and racial equality, I think they totally won.
Yeah, but they tanked the economy.
I don't know about that.
No, literally, there was huge repercussions from the hippie movement, in terms of
don't buy, love instead, that sort of thing. Love is free,
I mean that's true. They sold love, but what else did they do? You know what I mean?
They sold counterculture ideas. They rejected capitalism. They moved towards and
that's great. But the thing is, that it's also great that there were people running the show.
But the hipster movement hasn't done any of those things, in my opinion. The hipster movement of what we have in the last 20 years has really accomplished nothing except for making style ironically funny.
Yeah.
Like embracing irony to make bad style the fashion of the time.
I mean, I think that's sort of a form of acting out, maybe, I think,
Oh, yeah, no. And the people who identify with it, I don't really understand. But we'll go back from here.
Well, with the hipsters is an interesting point in culture, I think, actually. Because,
it's supposed to be linked to postmodernism, but we won't get into that. That's a far
postmodernism is actually probably the most promising area for me. For me, this
philosophically, it's a dead end, from what I understand.
No, I don't know. Look, I think I think that's what we're really talking about here. Is if you're making art now, right? What do you actually have to do towards the past? Because the thing is, so much has been done. So much has been done, and we're as sort of the existential position of being an artist in any time period is having to deal with the past of art, right? But you don't want to have to do that, really necessarily. Some people really enjoy that; they delve into it. But the thing is, when you are a postmodernist, you accept that there is the idea that you've already heard everything. Everyone's already read everything, heard everything, kind of thing through mass media. I think this is one of the bases of metal. It's just you can get into higher classes of metal because you've heard the ones before. It's just like anything else.
I disagree in some respects. I mean, I think every art form in a way has way more to offer than it does. But if you're talking about what music offers now, and I disagree entirely with you, the fact that everyone's done everything. I think in Western culture, a lot of the influences that we take are from, for the most part, English, British, Celtic, German, maybe a bit of French, in terms of all our influences on what's happened on music and art and all that sort of stuff, and how it influences us. There's the majority of the planet, actually, in terms of population, has way more art to offer us than we'll ever fucking expect, be prepared for, or be willing to even introduce into our lives. I mean, you just look at Jamaican music, man. That stuff's been around 50, 60 years now, and yet when's the last time you heard a Jamaican song on the radio on a pop song?
Or
any Jamaican influence at all?
It sounds like you're mixing issues there a little bit.
I'm just saying,
cultural representation is a big deal. But I think if we're talking about stories and narratives, it depends what type of art we're talking. If we're talking about music, it's a very different thing.
I was just talking about thematics rather than a storytelling subjective standpoint. Where I understand that there's some standards. It's where it's the boy on a fucking journey storyline, which is Star Wars, which is Lord of the Rings, which is The Matrix, which is everything. Essentially, a young boy meets a fucking tutor.
Well, in that sense, that's what I mean. This is the basis of postmodernism, though, is that it assumes that we know that storyline. We know the storyline of the boy,
the great journey,
on the great journey. We know that. We've seen it a million times. We know how it ends. You read Harry Potter for the first time. That's a big craze. Did anyone ever think that Voldemort was going to kill him in the end?
Yeah.
That's how it ends? The end?
There's
Harry's dead?
End of it. Yeah.
The end?
No,
of course not, because that story is an established story. We have faith in the idea of that story. And this is what we mean. I think there's no escaping the past. I mean, you say there's all these different stories and things and cultures that
there's so many more.
No, there are, and I agree with you. But the thing is, those all come from a long line of stories already told to them. They might be new to you. The world is big and diverse, but the thing is, it's all based on what we've been influenced by. If you go to write a book, what do you think about? You think about the books you like.
I agree. No one is genuinely an individual. They're just a series of mashups and mix-ups of what they've read and heard and listened to.
Yeah, well, this is why it's interesting that you sort of started asking about education, actually, because that's an interesting topic of that, being an individual. And I think that's why I rejected most of my mainstream education, is because what they were training me to be was to be one of the same.
A cog in the machine.
Exactly, but the thing is, just in the country that I grew up, I didn't want to be anyone that was in any situation there. It's just the limitations and who you had to be to survive in that world. I actually thought, this is not what I want to see life as. And you have to make that sort of fundamental...
We've got a 21st century education system that's based from the industries of the 20th century, which is when we essentially had children who would still be able to work in an automated factory or a factory at all. And so we teach them math, we teach them science, we teach them some history, we teach them language, we teach them how to write and cite and write letters and post stamps and that sort of simple stuff. That is very much assembly line education.
Yeah.
But these days, there are, for the most part, as I understand it, there are very few new jobs than there were before, and automation is slowly and very quickly taking over.
Yeah.
So, these days we have podcasters, we have YouTube entertainers, we have programmers, we have digital scientists, we have data analysts. Those are pretty much the main four that I know of all the professions that have been invented. Everything else is pretty much the same. We still have lawyers, we still have computer engineers, we still have... All of those things haven't changed, but they are slowly being eroded in terms of the workplace. And in that regard, I think that's where art will come in many ways to save us. But the problem is whether you let the system and the zeitgeist that we live in, the ability to advertise those people and capitalize on their fame. So I've heard a quote. I'm not too sure if it's from Pablo Picasso, but that guy was a genius. If you don't know Pablo
Let's
Picasso...
Let's give him credit anyway.
Yeah, no, Pablo Picasso apparently died in the 1970s. The guy spoke 4 languages when he was by the age of 10. The guy was literally literally a genius. That guy was absolute genius. He wrote... he apparently wrote close to nearly 20 books on art. Had 50 different exhibits in 10 years. Just of his art.
Gave a lot of people in that period some weird body issues, probably.
Yeah, probably. But in regards to him, he actually had this brilliant quote. He says, "Rules do not make art. Art makes rules." As in, the rules that we live by are set by art.
I would agree with that.
And that politics, no one will ever be able to censor what art can describe. And in that way, if you were looking at something like the Nuremberg trials, there is no way that you'd ever be able to encapsulate what the horrors of the Nuremberg trials showed people, unless it was within a well-documented visual and audio storytelling. You can't encapsulate that in words. You can't. People will not feel what it looked like to be in one of those camps.
But I mean, can we actually ever? Can we ever really?
No. We'll never truly ever be able to experience that unless it's from people's own
one
words.
thing I never gravitated.
But at the same time,
much.
words are not enough. Like Terence McKenna also said that words were literally the limit of our civilization. We weren't able to describe or imagine new things unless we had the words for them.
I don't like to think of words as a limitation, honestly. I mean,
I think that he described also that words and language were a tool. They were just like any other, like a hammer or a sickle.
but it's
or a drill
as
bit
all
drill.
tools, it's useful. Like in the sense that if you can't put something into words, most of the time it's probably not worth it. Like, I mean, there's a few things that are ineffable, right? Just unsayable.
Well,
you can't.
So that's why we invent new art forms, though. At the same time, that's why we invent new art forms.
Some of the reason. I mean, a lot of the time, new art forms these days are created just to be trendy, just to be kitschy.
That's a different thing entirely.
And
if you want to get into video games, let's do so.
Well, this is why I say postmodernism is the better answer than because it's better to just assume that everyone sort of knows the stories, right? And like Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is a classic example of a show that assumes that you know all the stories.
Yeah, and then fucks with them.
With them. But that's what I'm saying. Postmodernism is a platform for telling new stories with old ideas. But like the other option, I guess, is stuff like you get your songs like Wet Ass Pussy, you know, like. I mean, it's fresh. It's fresh because no one's ever said that in a song before. You know, like no one's been that explicit about like the idea of sex in the pop song. But like the thing is, like
that's a misnomer if I've ever heard one. Pop songs have primarily been about sex almost all the time.
But there's always a feeling that they have to be fresh. They have to
be subtle. That's the difference with WAP. Is that it's not subtle. The subtlety is gone.
I don't know about if you think the subtlety has only just now disappeared. I don't know.
No, I don't disagree.
We've been for a while.
For a while. Sir Mix-a-Lot, I like big butts. That's when the subtlety died.
Oh yeah. No, I mean I think
probably.
Even though he's being pretty, like he was still pretty PG in that. Really.
He's fun. He's not explicit with what he's after.
Yeah, I think there was that modern.
There's a charm.
What was that song that like I think was also Cardi B? She did something about Anaconda or something like that.
Yeah, Anaconda.
But Sir Mix-a-Lot also says like he talks about his dick as an anaconda. It's just like
my anaconda
don't want no buttons unless you got buns. I don't know what the fucking But like she does it, and you're just like, okay, no, that's a bit far.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm not saying it was wrong.
But it's also the fact that she's on TikTok. That's where she released. As I understand, that TikTok is so much more exposure than people think.
No, but I mean, maybe she's pushing the limits. Maybe
there's nothing wrong with pushing the limits, but you have to have some artistic integrity about it.
Yeah, no, well, a lot of people don't. I mean, like you look at
subtlety is gone.
What's oh no, it was Nicki Minaj who did that Anaconda song, wasn't it?
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, actually.
Cardi B's a bit...
I don't keep up with these things, really.
No, neither do I. I mean, if anyone legitimately listens out there and they like pop, you're either 12 years old or you're a basic person.
Oh, no, snap.
And I'm going to throw that out there. You need to get some culture in you.
Oh, dear.
You totally do. I'm sorry.
You're on the wayward path, my friend.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I understand that basic stuff is fun. It's enjoyable, but you don't have to think about it.
I mean, that's it. I know that you're...
Which is fine, but I mean, you have a brain. It's the most complex machine in the planet, in the universe. And yet you don't use it. Like,
But aren't you
come
a
on.
fan of the MJ?
Yeah, I've heard autistic rappers who have been through serious accidents, and they use their brain.
Keith
Just leaving that there.
Keith works a program with some disadvantaged people. No, what are you talking about? No, like, I mean, I'm not saying there's no credibility in pop. There is.
Oh, yeah,
but
totally.
It's a different kind of thing. I mean, the focus is different. Like Katy Perry, I saw not so long ago.
Live or?
No, I don't mean I went to her show.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
My daughter did.
The world is all fragmented, you know. I just saw it online, probably on Facebook or something like that. It just suggests videos or throws things at me, right? Like, but the thing is, this made me a little bit annoyed because, like, she had this part, like she was like a mermaid or something in a live performance or something like that. And I mean, maybe it's not as bad as it seems in the video, but like, I mean, she was pretending to play a flute. You know, like she accidentally took the flute away from her mouth when it was still playing. You know, supposed to be playing.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference between musicians and performers. That's what a lot of people miss.
Yeah.
If you don't understand what I'm talking about, go watch George Carlin talk about Michael Jackson. Okay, he tells the difference between Elvis and the Rat Pack and Michael Jackson, and he says which one's a performer and which one's an entertainer. Go watch that.
No, but cool. Interesting with Frank Sinatra and Elvis. I have seen some footage where Elvis actually was next to Frank. Old Blue Eyes like on some sort of event kind of thing.
Las Vegas Strip, probably.
But the thing is, like. Although, you know, Frank Sinatra, he had the charisma, he had the crowd, you know, like everyone just wanted to listen to the guy, you know, like he talks, he sounds like butter, you know, like just melting butter, you know. It's just like, but the thing is, like, when Elvis was there, you know, and they sang next to each other, Elvis had the better voice by far. He had 3 times as good a voice as Frankie did, you know. It's just like. But the thing is, it's just like, it's not always about who's better. You know, like
stage presence and that sort of stuff.
Well, it's just who people like. Like the Rolling Stones was not the best band around. They were the first people to say that. Like, but the thing is, people liked them.
Yeah,
people liked them because they had the right energy. They had this like melancholic but sort of happy vibe about them. No. Like it was kind of like, you know. They focused on...
It's kind of the reason why Led Zeppelin didn't get as big as... I mean, they were the biggest band on the planet, but that was because they were appealing to, in many regards, musicians.
Yeah.
The people who liked Led Zeppelin at the time were people who really liked music. And they weren't just people who really just, turn on the radio sort of thing. They were like people who bought the records, they moved towards the records. I mean, their 4th album had literally no text on it saying that it was Led Zeppelin. It just had a bunch of symbols.
How could you not hear
that they invented? Zeppelin. They weren't like old symbols. It was like literally finding a code in a record store.
Yeah, true.
And it still sold millions of albums.
Well, I mean, like, you know, they even had that recent rehash of all their old stuff, that Mothership album.
Yes.
But like the thing is, because they had, I actually was listening to a lot of Led Zeppelin recently, just sort of, you know, delving back into like their sort of catalog on shuffle, right? Mm-hmm. Just randomized. I just wanted to get like a random sort of feel of the band, because like who they actually were behind like their releases. Because I just really enjoy listening to them. I really enjoy listening to Led Zeppelin. They were a huge band for me, and as I said, it's sad music because they have that. So I actually feel like Led Zeppelin is
the origin of the melancholy.
I think they're the missing link. I think
between blues and rock.
Yes, exactly.
I totally and utterly agree.
Because the thing is, they're like when you really listen to them, you're like, these guys aren't rock, they're blues. You know, because like there's just they're
the first rock band I've ever heard with the song chronologically with the song "Heartbreak" in it.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's hugely there, and see the blues is the thing that I really used to gravitate to, because I sort of thought it felt honest. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's the purest form of self-expression would be the blues.
I mean, because like I think a lot of there are lots of great things in life, you know, like, and it's great to feel like fucking pumped up, you know, with some rock.
But you hear a
like
black man is going through
some.
You hear a black man that's in the 1930s and he's struggling to feed his kids, and he's on one harmonica and he's singing the rest of the time. That is pure blues. There is nothing close and nothing more real, more depressing than that.
No, but I mean, I'm not saying the blues has to be depressing. I mean, you've got some, like, you know, like some British musicians, playing blues as well. But the thing is, like, people don't recognize it as the same thing, but it is. I mean, like, they're singing about things that are painful to them as well, and like, and there's authenticity in that, no matter how bad your experience has been.
So,
I mean, obviously, it was different for American blues musicians.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. If we want to talk about one more art form that seems to have influenced both of us more than any other, I gotta mention video games at some point. I have to ask you, what do you think the most memorable and most moving experience you've had playing video games?
Well, actually, I mean, I think again, this would be dipping back into past sort of influences. Because even modern games that I played just don't scratch the same itch, you know. That, like,
it's interesting because they've been around for 50 plus years now. I mean, I guess we could call arcade moving experiences, maybe in the community itself, but not in a interpersonal storytelling subject matter. But 40 years and we still haven't really had much story. I have heard quotes that say that a story in a video game is like a storyline in porn. Most people don't give a shit. They're there for the entertainment.
But that makes me really sad. Honestly,
agreed.
Like, for me, it's always about a story, and this is why I don't like things that are just flashy for the sake of it. Like, this is why because I think it's cool to like the flashy thing. It's cool to like the thing that is that's fucking loud, or it's like fucking, you know. It's
but if it has a tiny bit of a story behind it, it heightens it.
And it's cool.
But if it has a tiny bit of story, cool, it makes it so much better.
It's cool to like cool things. But honestly, that's not the shit that moves.
No, that's a bandwagon, isn't it? That's a feels train.
I feel like it is a bandwagon. I mean, like, sometimes it's a good thing, but honestly, a lot of like a lot of things, I don't like a lot of mainstream ideas, because a lot of the time, it's just an easy to understand idea, and, like, honestly, I get bored with that.
So, what 3 games would you say really hit you with the story? And go on with that.
Okay.
Because
with the story aspect.
Well, story and characters.
I mean, I'm not saying that, like, it's not sometimes cool to just play like a cool game.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Like, but I mean, even if you don't, even if you don't like them, if you played them and you finished them, and even if you didn't like them, they hit you emotionally.
Yeah.
Like, mention one of those.
Right. Games that really sort of hit me in a more emotional place, I guess. There was an old Japanese game called Suikoden, and it was actually based on a novel at the time. But the novel was I never read, obviously, because it was like an original Japanese script. But it was just a game where you sort of go around and you collect all these, like, comrades and get ready for war, basically. You know, it's set in this really tumultuous time, and there's all these, like, and there's always, like, a division between 2 armies or something like that. And in the second one, you play as this young kid and his friend who are betrayed by their own army to basically screw up a peace treaty, and end up escaping from your own army, and like in a waterfall, and then you end up separated, and as the game progresses, you and your friend end up on opposite sides of the war. And then you've sort of got to collect a bunch of comrades and stuff to your side. But it involves a lot of sort of like magic and interesting ideas. There's a vampire plot line in it somewhere. Like I know we've talked about.
Sounds a little bit like Skyrim if it was co-op.
Look, because I mean, Skyrim's a great game, but I didn't really feel the story in Skyrim. Like in this game, I really felt like the idea of an impending war the whole time. You know, like there's always, and it's always like a character that I can associate with that. Like there was the guy who betrayed his own army was the prince of the army, the Highland army, right? Like, and he's fucking insane. His name is Lucas Blight, right? And he's all like royal and shit, but he's crazy. He is so fucking crazy, but super strong, inhuman. Like Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII kind of strong, like just off the charts kind of thing. And so like in the game, I think what I really enjoyed about it was like there was a duality. Like they created a simple idea, right? Like it wasn't just this open world. Like in Skyrim, like you just got this huge open world, right? And like I think the problem with some of these games is like you pick up all these journals and all this other stuff. But I mean, if you actually spend time reading that stuff, honestly, you go crazy. You go mad, like because it never goes anywhere. My problem with a lot
I understand that Bethesda has a problem with telling big stories. They're terrible at telling big stories. The old Fallout games had excellent big stories.
Fallout was amazing.
Yeah, the original Fallout games are really, really good.
That would be one of them.
The original Morrowind and Oblivion are pretty good in terms of like their long-term storytelling. But where they really excelled in terms of Bethesda was small-based storytelling. Small-based storytelling is exceptional because that's small stories, whether they be tragic or not. Most of the time they're tragic. Teach you to keep going because they give you a feeling of positive and negative reinforcement, and you try to go on to either improve it or get more, which is where the interesting part of the casino, this sort of, you know, you got to keep them winning every now and then to keep them playing, sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
You get small rewards every now and then, that sort of thing. And so
I love that game just feels completely hopeless.
As for me, I'd have to say the top 3 most emotional experiences I've played in a video game were emotional, where I was actually connected to the characters. It's hard.
I'm gonna steal one of your beers, here, Keith.
Yeah, go ahead, mate. Yeah, actually, we didn't quite do this earlier, but just need. We'll just mention here. What are you actually drinking?
Well, I'm about to steal one of your summer ales.
John Boston Summer Ales. Yeah, it's dry hopped and unfiltered. Quite nice, 4.2%.
Wow, okay.
Previously, I was drinking a golden ale, which is the same thing but dry hopped.
Well, I am drinking ultra low carb lager because
we're moving up in the world, mate.
Look, I gotta tell you, man. Like, I mean, what is the percentage on this? I think it's not bad though.
3%.
No, it's 4.2. Same as yours, but without the carbs. 80% less. No, I'll tell you what. It's getting towards the start of the new year. It's time to get in shape. It's time.
Yeah, everyone said that before 2020, and then 2020 happened.
No, look, you know that.
And they went, we're gonna be stuck at home.
I'm sick of it, man. I'm sick of it. We create our own fucking luck, right? Like. End of the day, I mean, I think this is what I like about Fallout as well, right? You create your own luck.
You genuinely pick how much luck you have at the start of the game. Your character.
Yeah, I guess you get the luck attribute, but I just mean like you're in a post-apocalyptic world. But I think the reason why that's game is so good, and the reason why a game what was the previous one you referenced? It was too open, like Skyrim maybe. Skyrim is an amazing game. Don't get me wrong. But the reason it's never going to be as satisfying as a game like Fallout, especially Fallout 3, which was my all-time favorite, because it was the first time I played Fallout as well, was Fallout 3. And the reason why that game was is always going to be better to me is because they follow the rule of Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, you mentioned something, you have to come back to it later.
You have to come back to it. See, this is my big problem with a lot of these modern sort of role-playing games. Like,
it's never explained.
Yeah, you got so much information.
Yeah, that
like, when does that come up?
That happens to be a part of storytelling that came from J.J. Abrams. Have you heard of this premise? There's a video. You can look up
J.J. Abrams.
You can look at it online. J.J. Abrams once did a entire example of he did an entire from what I could see, a small audience where he explained the box theorem, where he brought out a box that was completely unmarked and he says, "What's in the box? Does anyone know?" Sort of thing. And he basically said, "This is what you should do with your storytelling. Is you should bring out a box, never explain it, and just leave people to deal with it on its own. Then maybe open the box later." So that keeps people engaged. And you know what? I absolutely vehemently hate it. Well, it annoys the hell out of me. And yet there are people out there, you know who you are, who love that type of storytelling because it's something other than postmodern.
Now I just can't think of anything except Seven. You know, the ending of "What's in the box?"
That's David Lynch, I think.
That was a literal box. No. I mean, I get what I get that actually can be a good thing, but like you want it in several boxes.
As for storytelling for me, I'd have to go with Deus Ex, the original game, 1999. That game for storytelling, completely and utterly, I fell in love with. And this is one of the few types of games where what you chose is what affects the world. So, long story short, essentially you play a character that just finished his training. He's working for the equivalent, keep in mind, this is 1999. And Deus Ex, the original game, is rated one of the greatest games of all time. Not because it was well made, or that the gameplay is great, or that the storytelling is great, or the characters well written. It was because the entire game was completely prophetic of the last 20 years in the 21st century.
And that's why you enjoyed it as a kid, because you thought it would be prophetic?
No, at the time I loved it because of the story and the characters and the gameplay. But at the time now, it's to give you a quick launch. You start on Ellis Island, which is where the Statue of Liberty stands, and they have established UNATCO, which is essentially the. Do you remember the little government department that they established after 9/11?
Do I remember it? I remember it.
Do you remember Homeland?
I often think about.
Do you remember Homeland Security? Do you
I often ring a bell at all? Find myself in my dreams drifting back to
9/11. Yeah. No. So basically Homeland Security, the headquarters were established in this universe, in Deus Ex's universe, on Ellis Island, because the French bombed with a plane the Statue of Liberty in 2001. And if you look also into the New York skyline in the game, the Twin Towers aren't there either. And this was released in 1999, 2 years before the 9/11 attacks happened.
I'm struggling to see where the story of this game really captured.
Yeah, what's insane about this game is...
It sounds like some conspiracy.
It was literally every conspiracy thrown together in one game, turned into a brilliant story. Okay. And so, if you ever are interested...
Story?
The story is essentially you are a soldier that just finished his training for UNATCO. You come out of basic training, extreme counterintelligence training and counterterrorism training. You start your first mission, which is to confront the leader of these these French terrorists at the top of the Statue of Liberty's base building before the statue starts. And so you get up there, that's the first mission, and you can do it either via stealth, you can do it lethality, you can do it non-lethality.
This is not a story.
You can talk your way through it. This is the first mission, right?
Sounds like an Arnie movie.
In a way, it's kind of Arnie movie, but he doesn't kill anyone if you don't want him to.
Okay.
So you get to the top, you talk to the guy, and then he gives you a fucking entire lecture on taxes and how little people have been being screwed over the last 100 years with taxes. How individuals have slowly been run out of the entire power system of American society and politics, and how corporations have slowly gotten bigger and they paid less taxes every time. And so it blew my fucking head off when I was 15 playing this game, because it literally taught me both the tax systems, how individuals can lose control, and at the same time, my favorite band of all time at that moment was Rage Against the Machine. So yeah, this was a perfect amalgamation of influences.
Who didn't
right
have
now.
that as their
But
favorite
nonetheless,
band in the 90s,
later on, you discover that
cool.
you and your brother. Later on, you discover that you and your brother are actually genetically engineered beings. You are genetically engineered to be able to have new nanotechnology implanted into your body, and you don't reject it. Everyone else on the planet rejects their nanotechnology. They have to take a certain drug to tolerate the the implants. And the only way to compete in the marketplace of work is to have nanotechnology. So marketers have to have pheromone enhancers so they can determine whether someone's believing them or not. You have to have guys who are like lifting heavy shit. They have to have pneumatic arms, that sort of shit. And there are homeless people fucking everywhere, all over the planet. There's more homeless people than there are people working everywhere in every place. Almost, there's robots everywhere doing every menial job you can think of, whether they're bartending or whether they're just talking to people. They're doing every menial job. 75% of the jobs in this game are done by robots. There's little vacuum machines running around. This is 1999, and they're predicting Roombas.
Just like in Fifth Element.
Perfect example. Perfect example. Fifth Element was 1997, I think it was.
No, that was a great commentary on that, actually.
But nonetheless, the game is so brilliantly well put together that you get a kill switch activated in your brother. Your brother gets his kill switch activated because he's a genetically engineered being. They can just switch off his genetics, and he'll slowly die. And he confronts you in your apartment in New York City. And he's like, yeah, this is how things are going. We're actually, the people that we work for are awful beings. They run the world. They're run by capitalists. They're run by multi-billionaires. The conspiracy, Illuminati, Majestic 12, all that bullshit.
That's a relatable line.
You can leave him and escape, which is what you're supposed to do. Or you can take all the armaments and all the weapons and all the explosives and all the abilities that you've collected so far and kill all the dudes going for your brother. His kill switch is activated. You can take him to China, get his kill switch deactivated, and finish the game with his life intact. And at this point, you've had so much time with your brother. He's opened your eyes so many times as your character that you're legitimately willing to do that. Where you're willing to refresh the page 1,000,000 times, trying to reload your save, just trying to keep him alive. Like that. When I was 15, I legitimately had made a digital friend, and I wanted to keep them alive to see what would happen if I could finish. The game.
It sounds more like one of those games where you have emotional content to it. I mean,
I'm hoping.
I don't know how story driven it sounds.
I'm hoping Cyberpunk
it reminds me of
similar.
Army of Two. Playing that game, it's just like. You have this emotional connection to the other person playing, whether it's a real person or not.
Yes, agreed.
Even if you're playing with the computer, you like that's my guy. You got to protect each other. But I mean, did it have a story? I don't fucking know.
No, it had no story.
No, well that's the thing.
Had no story, had no characterization, but the fact that your brother could be playing with you, and you looked after each other. Me and Dean, my brother, fucking played that game for a couple of. Must have been 18 hours.
Game.
It's a great goddamn game. We were looking after each other.
Story-wise, I always enjoyed like Final Fantasy, but I didn't like 7 as much as 8. A lot of people love 7.
Yeah, well, I think 7, as I understand it, was far more focused in terms of its environmental storytelling than it was about the characters. The characters are kind of flat.
Well, I thought the characters.
They're interesting, but they're kind of flat.
But they actually were a bit too larger than life,
Well, that's every Final Fantasy.
Well, I didn't really believe Cloud. Really, I mean, like at the end, he goes insane.
He's kind of mopey.
Well, no.
That's where the movie takes over, doesn't it?
He made up a false identity. He's actually not the guy.
Oh.
He was. Oh no, I mean, spoilers, but it's a fucking old game. But like he's
They
not...
just finished remaking it.
Yeah,
you gotta go on
yeah.
spoilers again.
All right, well then if you're playing it now, you should have played it then.
No, I agree.
No, but like I mean, he actually has he was a different guy from who he thought he was. He had someone who died, and he sort of took on their personality, and there was this whole thing about like Geneva and like cells, and he was created and stuff like that. Like it got a bit too, I couldn't like he was cool, but I didn't actually believe him as a character. The guy who I believed as a character was Squall Lionheart in Final Fantasy VIII. Right, this guy, he just couldn't, like he was like the main guy helping out shit, but at the same time he didn't want to know what was going on. Like a lot of the time, like you know, because he was you're like this mercenary in that run, right? Like and you just sort of get told where to go. You grow up in a school to make you a mercenary, so you don't really know what your purpose is. But like he was very like practical and like thoughtful. He always had the right answer, and he had like the weapon he had was fucking sick. It was a gun blade. It was a gun.
Yeah, I remember.
It was a gun and a sword.
That's another thing I think we should leave for the next episode that we do on art. We could touch upon you know, art itself, philosophy, maybe anime music videos even.
Well, I mean, even comics. I mean,
comics. Yeah, we'll touch upon that next week, but next time. But I believe we should just probably end on video games in a way, because we're kind of going chronologically through music, TV show, music, movies, and now we're at video games.
Oh well, I mean, you did talk a lot about talking about literature and things like that. I mean, if we're talking about origin, we should, that really should be where the focus is.
Let's go on from there, because that's let's move on to that next time. We'll start there. I think that's probably the best way to go about it.
Yeah,
but as for
I think it covers a lot of media forms, like especially if you're talking about like modern,
there's so many types these
postmodern
days.
Media forms are going to be like, you know.
Yeah, that's actually a better way to encapsulate it. No, definitely by whether it's what philosophy it sort of belongs to. If you haven't seen it yet, check out Wisecrack's video on postmodernism, and it talks about how Deadpool was the perfect postmodernism film, where it takes every exact trope of a superhero genre and just destroys it.
Though if I had to recommend a postmodern work, it would be maybe Maus, which is a graphic novel about a Jewish writer trying to write his own novel. Like he's trying to write the comic book in the comic book, and it's the comic book is sort of about his father who lives with him, and he's a Holocaust survivor.
Fuck.
But like the thing is, like,
is it dark?
Oh, dude, you have no idea. Like, it is the darkest thing I've ever read in my life. But actually, it's also one of the most insightful, because like it's they're mice, right? They're Jews, so they're mice. And like the thing is, like, it's
I was about to say, is this a little on the nose?
No. Like, the thing is, well, they used to do all, like, look at Animal Farm and all that. They used to do those like political.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It was common to do that, like 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat, which I thought of earlier. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah, no.
If you haven't heard of that, don't watch it. No, I mean it's interesting. But
don't go watch All Dogs Go to Heaven either.
All right, now let's. What else should we not watch? No, like the reason why Maus is such an amazing graphic novel though is because it's about him trying to write the novel, and he can't, because he's writing about his father, and his father survived the Holocaust. But the problem is his father is a huge pain in the ass. Like, he is a massive inconvenience, and his father's living with him and his girlfriend, who's French, and she's a frog, right? But like, they also talk about like, oh, I'm going to draw you as a frog kind of thing, because he talks about the writing of his novel. But like, his father is just this horrible guy who makes everything difficult, every little thing, like, you know, just meals, like going to the shops, you know, fuel rationing, everything. And it sort of proves the point that not all Holocaust survivors were these lovely people. You know, we think of the victims as all the nice truths, people. Yeah. There were some hard truths involved. So it was his guilt about writing the novel about his father, who he has difficulty living with. But when he tells the story of his father, and in the story of his father, all the father's difficult things in the context of the Holocaust became really thrifty and clever, and and showed why he sort of survived as well. So it's just so it makes a lot of really complicated points. And and it shows and at one stage between the middle, it shows him having an interview about the book, but he's actually wearing now as a human wearing a mouse mask. So it's just so that people are interviewing about his work. But he's wearing the mask of his work, and so it's
oh wow,
it's just level on level on level, and that's just the surface. This novel is crazy. It's just because it reminds me of this class I took once, and it referenced there's other some narratives that were just stories within stories, like Italo Calvino.
Out of curiosity, you read the Matthew Riley Temple novel?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Which both had a story within a story, but it didn't disrespect either story in the way that it was told. Which is my favorite book, by the way.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, that's he's a great writer, and I think that he deals with story in a way like it's not the main focus.
Breakneck pace, yeah.
But
he's gone for action.
There's a lot of details that are
else.
being sort of thrown in there, but the action tells you about the characters a little bit, and that's what I like about it, is that the action informs who they are a little bit. What they would do to
the characters are in a way moving the plot forward rather than the plot moving the characters forward.
Yeah,
which is a rarity you find.
There's a heavy soldier mentality in those books.
So
but in a way that I find accessible.
In conclusion, I've been chasing up what my guests have been getting into lately regards to music and movies and TV shows and maybe video games if you have time to think about it. But yeah, what have you been getting into lately, and what's been tickling your fancy?
Oh well, I guess it is 2020, so TV shows have been a big one.
Yes, for a lot of people.
With TV shows, I think lately I recently watched this Marco Polo in entirety. And we've had a vague conversation about that show. That just incredibly well made and put together story that really shows the difference in life. Being a Mongolian back in those days.
Does it start off with the Mongolians?
Because it's the legacy of Kublai. It's Kublai Kai, right?
Not Cobra Kai.
Not Cobra Kai, which was a good series in its own way.
Just as a quick tangent,
in its own way.
I hate Cobra Kai.
Oh come on!
I am not a fan.
Oh, you're just a fuddy-duddy.
No. I realized the other day.
Fun.
Well, I realized, you know what it was? Cobra Kai is Glee. Instead of removing, they removed all the dancing.
Yeah, fair enough.
They took all the dancing out and put it with fighting.
But that's a pretty cool change to Glee,
Yeah, no. Any improvement is a change to Glee. If they stopped singing that in Glee, that would have been fine. They just did dancing to nothing.
There wouldn't have been much happening then. But maybe they would have taken up karate. Who knows? I mean, I think you're kind of right, but I mean that's sort of why I like it.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I don't mind martial arts at all.
No, look, I'm a big fan of martial art films in general, and I wouldn't say that one's specifically a martial art film. I mean, it doesn't do a bad job, I don't think. But anyway.
As for music, what have you discovered lately?
So music, actually, I've been sort of pushing my boundaries a little bit because I definitely have gotten deeper into a lot of very weird sort of genres than a lot of people typically would. But at the same time, it was maybe within certain bounds. So I'm just trying to push it in terms of maybe heaviness and maybe some funk kind of stuff. I've been trying to get into a lot of old school funk.
Can I recommend a few bands?
Yeah,
if you can't think of any off the top of your head. Hocus Pocus.
And I surely can, but yeah.
Yeah, Hocus Pocus, strangely enough, I played a 90s video game, which was a platform.
Oh, that's interesting.
Spell.
There's a mix
game.
there.
But yeah, no, Hocus Pocus is basically, it's LSD and cocaine in musical form.
Yeah, true.
Just check out their live performance. It will be the first search results. Hocus Pocus Focus is the name of the song. It will freaking blow your goddamn mind. Because there's guys who are pick sweeping in the 1960s in this video. Like, these guys are Norwegian rock stars, and they're just destroying people alive. Like, they're just burning people's faces off with their guitar solos and riffs. Yeah. It will blow your goddamn head off. Amazing. Amazing.
No, well, actually, I think...
otherwise than that, I have been very much getting into, in terms of me, clowncore.
Yeah,
is,
I mean,
I've been loving clowncore.
I've taken to that quite well, because
they're very heavy and they're very funky.
That's exactly what I said when I've seen that is that there's a high degree of funk in it.
Yeah,
and so that's along sort of the lines I'm talking about, actually. But I mean, lately I've been listening to a lot of sort of Gojira and Lamb of God, because like
Lamb of God's good.
Well, I mean,
forget their policies on certain things.
I think they don't believe in intros. But like,
yes, it's interesting you mentioned that.
They don't believe in intros. They just get right into the meat of the song and just immediately blow your hair back. But the thing is, they do it with such clarity that it's just like, all right, you know, like I'm totally cool with that. Like, you're right into the song, but you're like, it's very easy to sort of fall into. And I mean, I guess just on like a philosophical level of that, and also it's quite a clean sound, which I like. I mean,
they are very good production. I love them.
No, because I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's my boundary is that I like pushing the heaviness, but the reason why I always gravitated towards certain things is that, like, you know, why grunge was always a comfortable place for me is because you could hear a singer, what they're singing about, you can connect with it.
Even though they were slurred because of...
Well, because the thing is, I'm more on a vocalist side than I am
a
guitarist, right? Like, I'm more of a vocalist than... I mean, I'm working really hard to get to even that out. But, like, I've always sort of approached music more from singing and lyrics and things like that.
But you're looking more instrumental now.
No, I mean, I've always... it's just because I had a background in instruments and things like that, so I could always sort of play to some degree.
Yeah, no. So you
and I can write
in
music,
a way,
so there's
you
a lot
had
of
a
options.
platform to
Yeah,
stand
no, but
on.
like when you learn instrumentally, it's much more of a technical thing than like I feel like I'm telling a story, or I feel like I'm doing like that. Like when you play
Do you think
guitar,
you're separated a little bit from the expression side of things if you're doing
No. The only thing that limits you from expression wise is your knowledge. Like there's two facets of it. There's building knowledge within the guitar, so like you actually have things that you can use, phrases, right? Because when you're just playing on the fly, you can do things, but the thing is, like, your brain's not involved. What's playing is your fingers.
Yeah, your muscle memory.
And the muscle memory. And so that's the thing you need to rely on. Like, you need to teach your fingers to know how to play things before they can be creative.
Well, this is a discussion of Jimi Hendrix for next time. We should just do one podcast on Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, God, no. There's so much to say about a guy who there's actually a very limited amount known about. You know?
Yeah, but nonetheless, our own personal opinions, we go waste an hour or so.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely, man. I mean, just talking about his lyrics, you know, just
as for video games, what are you getting into now?
So video game wise, I mean, I've just been playing. The only thing I'm playing on now, because my life has become much more portable lately.
You got a Switch, dude.
I've got a Switch Lite, yeah. Like, you know, one of those things that in coronavirus times are all like flying off the shelves for like $250 or something. And the thing is, like, I mean, it's actually got a few, but it doesn't matter what you play, as long as you can always find a good game.
Yeah.
You know, like, and lately I've been getting into Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which I find so interesting because I actually like my regular job when not in sort of these times is to teach English as a second language, right? And I actually did a lecture once on pirate law. Like it was like a specialized lecture because no one was coming to the lectures, right? Like because everyone else was choosing topics that were a little bit dry, I guess. And so I thought, oh, this will get people coming. Like, let's talk about it. And the thing, I mean, there was a much better turnout actually than a lot of the other lectures. But like, so it was quite a large.
I don't understand. It's quite egalitarian. Actually.
No, there was about 80 people in the room.
Wow.
Yeah, no, there was quite a lot of people there. And the thing is, like, it was actually I thought it would be an interesting topic before I looked at it. But like when I actually went and did the research,
it's quite simple.
No. Look, the thing is, actually, it wasn't simple. It was just no one's really collected all the information in a really clear way. The thing is about pirates in films is interesting because at some point pirates became uncool in films.
Yeah, like, exactly. Scallywags.
You old scurvy dogs. You know, it's just like they became stereotypes that were kind of that slowly became PG, sort of.
Yeah, no, they were facsimiles of what they were supposed to. Apparently, there was a pirate movie back in the early 50s that was thrown out there, and the whole "I'm a pirate" sort of voice came from one of the characters, and then it became the entire pirate thing. Yeah. Apparently, pirates didn't talk that way at all.
Of course, they didn't talk like that. I mean, like the thing is, like some of them might have. I mean, but like the coolest things like stop being highlighted. I think when my dad was a kid, there were a lot of films about Blackbeard, right?
Yeah. In the game, he's amazing.
Yeah, and the thing is, actually, they were dead on with Blackbeard.
Really? Historically?
No, well, historically...
Did he carry around 8 bloody pistols at once?
He did. Like,
holy shit!
It was more than 8, actually. It was... how many was it again? It was 12.
So he had
12 pistols.
1, 2, 3, 4 all across his chest and stomach, and then he had 4 more on each of his legs.
Yeah, no, his pirate ship had 40 cannons on each side. On each side. On each fucking side. The Queen Anne's Revenge was his ship, right?
Holy crap!
And the other thing that they got totally right was he used to light his beard on fire. He used to put like these pieces of these strips of paper and like with hemp oil. Like he sort of was. This was one of the first sort of because they used to use the oil from hemp as well, quite commonly, especially pirates. And like he used to light his beard on fire when he would go into battle, so that people would actually think he's the fucking devil, right? And he was the like. No, there was so many things the whole iconography of the flag and everything like that. You know, his flag was like he was one of the few red flags. You know, he had like a red skull in there and like. Oh no, it's just crazy times, and like the idea of pirate lore is really interesting because they actually had a system that was really quite fair.
Yeah, egalitarian.
It was so egalitarian.
Treasure and booty and all that.
Treasure was split evenly among the crew, except for the captain and the quartermaster.
And from what I understand, if you lost a limb, you went upper rank.
If you lost a limb, you also had workers' compensation. You got paid. You got paid a certain amount of treasure for losing a limb.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right, and like, also you had life insurance. Actually, that was how pirates all had the stereotypes that have.
The rings were apparently paid for their.
That paid for their funeral.
Yeah,
like the earrings and like.
That's mind blowing.
The way that
they weren't stolen; they were bought at ports and apparently made.
Yeah, no, well, and that was something that you had to have on most ships. The thing is, like the captain.
What I understand is that anything that they found, anything they stole, profiteered on. If they were a privateer, if it got sold at market, it was legitimatized. It was verified whether owned to a certain royalty, and then it was actually returned if they were a privateer. So if you stole the Queen's diamonds, they got sold back to her. They got given and shipped back to her free of charge.
Well, yeah, they made an interesting blunder, the government, with the privateer thing, because they were in trouble in the war against the Spanish, right? And like, so they gave all these people the power to go and rob the Spanish, and thought like when the war was over, those people were just going to be like, all right, let's go open an ice cream shop now. I mean, what were they going to do? You know, it's just they're going to keep doing what they've been doing for the last 5-10 years. You know, like,
it's funny you mention that because ice cream was invented around at the same time as privateers.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
No,
sugar was quite plentiful during the privateering days.
No, that's true. That's true. Like in the game, like, you know, you pick up a lot of sugar when you sort of rub other
absolutely things. Rum and sugar.
Well, it's because they used to put sugar in their ale and stuff like that to ward off scurvy.
Who do you think it was fruit? I'm not too certain it was sugar. It was fermented fruit, which made an alcohol, which was rum. And that's actually where scurvy came from.
They drank rum, but they also had a more common drink as well.
Oh,
that was closer to ale.
I think there's an episode of How to Drink, the bartender on YouTube. He explains it very well about essentially where certain cocktails came from. And one of them happens to be because, just completely different tangent here, but yeah, gin and tonic was actually invented because tonic has a certain immunization towards malaria.
Yeah, right.
And so the British didn't like drinking tonic, so they put gin with it, and it became a cocktail. Because the Imperial Army of England actually had to drink tonic to make sure they didn't get malaria. They were like, let's throw some gin in there.
I don't mind a gin and tonic.
Yeah,
it's low calorie, you know?
As for a completely different tangent.
No, because I'm drinking too much beer. It just gives me a giant gut, you know, like...
Yeah, well, as it does.
The point is to get drunk, right?
Going back to my selection, I've been playing a lot of Elite Dangerous lately. It came out on free on Epic Store. It's basically a massively multiplayer online role-playing game where you basically play Han Solo. You get to do whatever the fuck you want. You can go mining, you can go trading, you can steal shit from other exploded ships and steal their cargo. You can smuggle, you can bounty hunt, you can do whatever the hell you want. It's basically Star Wars personified. Exceptionally well made. The graphics are incredible, and every time you dock into a space station or a planet or whatever you'd like, a giant spaceship, they play classical music, which is very enthralling. You can upgrade all your weapons and all that sort of stuff. Sadly, there is not really that much of a soundtrack, so I built my own. I'll link that down below as well under the comments on this video. Please do check that out as well. I very much enjoy it. I played through a lot of games this year. I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077, which comes out in approximately 6 or 7 days. But we'll be right back. So anyway, thanks for coming, Kev. Really enjoyed this time. We'll definitely have to keep going with this. We've got a lot more art forms to cover.
I think it's scratch the surface when you're talking about all the past forms of art and stuff. Tons to work with.
Yeah, I very much appreciate you sticking with me as a host, because the first podcast was just all over the place. It was kind of a shitstorm. That's why it was 3.5 hours. But I appreciate you guys for listening.
It's like anything, it's just like
work progress.
Work in progress, it's
perfection is just
the second pancake always, what the pot is warm.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, the second pancake is always the best.
Yeah. Not saying that the first pancake, I'll still eat the first pancake,
but it's the same thing with Star Wars movies. It's the same thing with the Matrix movies. It's the same thing with Terminator movies. The second pancake's always the best.
Well, I guess that says something about present art, doesn't it? Like, our art is better after the first time,
Yeah.
Maybe, but is that the question?
I think Michelangelo is the one who said that perfection is just errors removed.
Interesting.
So okay. We'll leave it on that. But thank you very much.
But then again, Transformers.
Those aren't movies, mate. They're giant corporate advertising billboards.
I'm just saying, man.
In slow motion.
We got a lot of crap to deal with these days.
Yeah, fair point. Thank you very much for coming, bud.
Cheers, bro. Good to hang out with you, and cheers. Nice to drink with you. We didn't really advertise the fact, but we've had a few.
Thank you for coming for 2 drinks minimum. Enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you next time.